think that basically you have a well-lit situation. I'm not, I'm not, you know, I'm not being counterproductive when I say that your watts in the basic light format is correct. If you'll notice in the picture now, my face is illuminated. I find that interesting because in a little magazine, let's see. Election Day Scapegoats by Robert S. McElveen. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Was not written of American presidents, but it describes our attitude towards most of them. Historians and the public usually find virtues in the nation's chief executives soon after they depart the White House. Even if such qualities remain undetected, while they are in office, Harry Truman was reveled by many as a narrow-minded, quick-tempered,
you know what I find interesting?
Provincial. But in retirement, he became a folk hero. Dwight Eisenhower never seemed able to utter a simple sentence while he was president. Yet a recent biographer called him the most undervalued, misunderstood statements of the 20th century.
Which most people
For most,
find
Richard Nixon
during
remains
the,
exceedingly unpopular, yet in the minds of some, he has become an elder statesman.
most people find
It is natural for the past to take on a glow that it recedes more deeply
usually
than
the
ever.
lower developmental
Most of us prefer to recall the good old days and repress the bad ones.
It's hard to find.
The ultimate in the mindset was expressed by a man who told me, I think Truman was the best president since Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Eisenhower was best president since Truman Kennedy was the best president since Eisenhower. And on he went on to Reagan. Such assessments, however, are rarely carried back beyond Roosevelt, and although Herbert Hoover lived just a short 32 years beyond his humiliating loss of FDR, it was not long enough to reduce the popular image. If I'm the only person of distinction, he said in later years, the result was that in each successive election dear... Of course. Oh, thank you. Oh, I had it upside down. Silly of me. Let's see. Idab asip looking faux incapacity, public harmonious and skinless servitude. Yet in consciousness his death brings, the want did not he because friends of the turkeys. Thanksgiving still send wood Hoover. Competent speak could they, pity self of periods, them against turned events, and righteousness self of degree. A given were Carter of Hoover both, but lead party to his own with regartions. You know, I just thought I'd mention here that the movie State Fair, produced in 1945, was a interesting synopsis of life in that time. You know, I saw what the director was trying to do. I saw the images portrayed, but I couldn't really believe the portray of the two male stars falling for the same woman at a carnival. Frankly, it seems silly that they spent all the time in the carnival. I think the movie lasted a duration of 2 hours, and the whole time they were in the carnival scene. But what of it? You know, what does it mean, really? You know, another thing I found interesting was that in another movie similar, Guys and Dolls, you had 4 people vying for relationships, you know. What does this mean, you know, to our present-day system of love? I'd like to know. I really would. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Well, it would seem to me that let's really talk about this in depth. It was about 2 years ago, and I had met a professor studying at the Michigan State University, well-known professor who was studying metaphysics and whatnot. And we were talking basically about the relationships between small animals, squirrels, and this kind of thing. And we noted that they generally work off each other in a sort of a geobiographical pattern where the mating process takes place in about early spring, and then after that they part, never to see each other again. We've thought this very interesting. You know, what does this mean for the human species? Is our dependence on the other human being really viable? Can we say that we are really dependent on others when we see animals that aren't really that much different than ourselves, you know, making love, never to see each other again? I find this interesting. You know, looking through these magazines, you notice a lot of racism. I found a bit here. A bit of bad timing on Grenada. I'd like to read this to you and see what you feel. Pentagon officials have finally revealed why one of the military officers involved in American invasion of Grenada failed. The plan is called a handful of Navy SEAL and Army Delta Force commando units in the land of St. George's ahead of the main assault to grab the radio station, Governor's Mansion, Richard Hill Prison, and Grenadian Command Post. But the main attack began with the commandos' helicopter still on the way to Grenada. Having lost the element of surprise, the special strike team lost one helicopter, suffered several dead and wounded, and some commandos had requested the Marines. The reason, despite having the best equipment, someone had misread the clock. It was a combination of time changes and the right guy not getting the message at the right time, says willful senior Pentagon official. George Bush made the strike out of his own wants a serious contender of the president's in 1988, and the view of the campaign advisors talks seek Bush. Support worries that Bush's frenetic stump style has already damaged the worry the Bush's frenetic stump. At some point, Bush will have to take some of the moves and assert the independence of Reagan, says one White House aide. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean as far as, well, for instance, in Grenada? What can we actually do there to possess? I'd really like to know. Yeah. And I was not formally introduced to what more commonly lies. When you think about such a derogatory statement made to one, it can't be incongruent to the format you're seeking. You can't shed. What am I saying? If I imitate somebody, what does that mean? Am I rehashing what's already been rehashed? I wonder where you left me. Am I that kind of guy? I'm going to read you a little book. It's called Alistair Cook's America. I'd like to see what you think about Alistair Cook's America. The monumental serenity of gentleness of Lee had provoked many sentimental plays in realms of idolatrous prose that might be a fine play for the second moral and political conflict he had to resolve. Let me show you a picture of the man so you might get a good idea of what he's doing. There we go. The monumental serenity of gentleness of Leah provoked many sentimental plays in realms of idolatrous prose, and there might be a fine play in the second morale.